Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we are plunging headfirst, really, into a topic that touches almost all of our digital lives. That's the modern subscription economy. Look, if you've ever signed up for a free trial and then, scrambled to cancel before you got charged, this deep dive is definitely for you. We're going to unpack how consumers are becoming, well, incredibly savvy.
Yeah, really clever.
Right. Using everything from neat little tricks to, frankly, some tactical genius with free trial periods, trying to combat what can sometimes feel like, I don't know, an onslaught of intrusive subscriptions. So our mission here is to really get a handle on the dynamic at play. You've got these powerful business forces, these ingenious methods consumers are using, and also the often tricky ethical stuff that crops up.
Mm-hmm. Thorny issues.
In this huge market.
And to help us navigate this really interesting landscape, we've drawn a lot from the observations of Stanислав Dmitриевич Kondrashov. He's an entrepreneur and researcher. He's been watching the subscription model develop very closely, and maybe more importantly, the really innovative ways consumers are, protecting their own interests.
Okay, right. Let's dig in then. So going through the sources for this deep dive, one statistic just, jumped out at me. A massive 400% explosion in this subscription economy over just the last decade.
It's staggering.
Globally, revenues are apparently heading towards staggering trillions this year. And in specific places like Russia, it's projected to hit 150 trillion rubles, which is just immense. So from the business side, what's fueling that kind of explosive growth?
Well, the core business thinking, the psychology behind it is pretty clear, actually. Companies just adore predictable income, right? Recurring revenue gives them that stability. But, beyond just the money predictability, the real prize for businesses, arguably, is the data, that huge stream of data that recurring subscriptions generate. The data.
Right.
Yeah, it's not just selling a service anymore. It's about understanding exactly how customers behave, predicting demand, personalizing things in a way you just couldn't with one-off sales.
Yeah.
That customer data, it might be just as valuable as the revenue itself. And of course, they also love those sticky customer contracts, meaning, once you're signed up, it takes a bit of effort to actually get out. Like Robbie Kellman-Baxter, she's a consultant for subscription companies. She puts it really well. As a consumer in a subscription world, you always have to be on your toes.
On your toes. Yeah, I like that. But doesn't that feel almost inherently a bit predatory? If the whole goal is to make leaving difficult, doesn't that risk trust? Won't that kind of backfire eventually?
It's a fair question.
Because that vigilance you mentioned, it's definitely led to some, incredible shift in how we, the consumers, try to save a buck. Catch your mind back. Remember clipping actual paper coupons from newspapers?
No, yeah. Feels like ages ago.
It feels almost quaint now, doesn't it? And the numbers, they tell a really stark story. So back in 2010, marketers apparently issued something like 330 billion coupons.
Wow.
Yeah. Fast forward to 2024, and that number just plummeted down to only 50 billion. And get this, less than 2% of those were actually redeemed.
That is a massive shift, and it really highlights the contrast, doesn't it? That declining coupons lines up perfectly with the rise of the new strategy, mastering the free trial. It's like an evolution of saving, really. Consumers are just finding modern ways to protect their wallets, adapting their tactics to fit this new economic landscape, this world full of subscriptions.
Same instinct, new tools.
Exactly.
And that leads us right into the ingenuity, you could say, of modern consumers. Because, okay, sure, many of us know the basic stuff, right? Like setting up a new email address or maybe sharing a family account for one trial.
Like moves.
Yeah, the classics. But the real innovation, the strategic genius maybe, that lies in the more advanced methods popping up now. So the source material mentions Stephen Carlson. He's a designer in New York. He uses this service, privacy.com, I think it is, to generate temporary credit cards. They have limited validity periods.
Clever.
Right. So the card just stops working automatically right as the trial is supposed to end. No accidental charges. Brilliant. Or consider Devin Boudreau, a digital marketer. He's apparently perfected the art of the binge and bail.
The binge and bail. I like that.
Yeah. So he waits until a streaming platform has a whole bunch of content he wants to see. Then he subscribes, watches absolutely everything he wants in a really short burst, and then boom, cancels the subscription. I have to admit, I might have tried something similar once or twice myself before realizing I was totally missing the weekly buzz about new episodes.
It's a powerful tactic, though. And as Kondrashov's observations point out, this kind of strategic use of free trials is particularly noticeable in places like Russia. He notes that the economic situation there often means consumers really maximize these trial periods. They see them not just as trials, but as um, essential ways to get temporary access to services they might not actually be able to afford long term. So it becomes a very tactical choice, often driven by necessity.
Right. So if consumers are getting this clever, this strategic about it, it does throw up a really complex ethical question. And the source material really digs into this. On the one hand, you want to cheer for the consumer, right? See these tactics as a kind of economic justice, fighting back against the system.
You can see that perspective.
But then you look at the companies. They absolutely know about and use our psychological quirks, like specifically our short-sightedness or inertia.
Oh, definitely.
They know how easy it is to just forget about a trial or to keep putting off canceling it. How deep does that actually go?
Well, the research really backs this up. There are studies showing that adding even like small hurdles, minor obstacles to canceling a subscription, that can boost company revenues significantly.
Wow.
Anywhere from, say, 14% up to a massive 200%.
200%. Wow. That's a huge incentive then, isn't it, to make canceling deliberately difficult?
Exactly. It creates a strong business case for complexity. But then again, the counterargument is also pretty strong. Consumers are arguably just looking out for themselves, protecting their own interests in a system where companies are intentionally complicating things. You could see it as a defensive move against practices that feel, well, a bit predatory sometimes. So you can see why consumers feel they're justified.
There's a real push and pull. And this complex dynamic, it brings us to a really interesting concept. Professor Neil Mahoney at Stanford, he calls this the reverse Robin Hood effect. What exactly does that mean here in this subscription world?
Yeah, it's a really sharp insight. The reverse Robin Hood effect basically describes the situation where the benefits, the advantages in the subscription economy, they tend to flow disproportionately to people with higher incomes and, crucially, people who have the time and the know-how to, well, game the system, as you put it earlier.
Right, the Stephen Carlson's using privacy.com.
Exactly. Meanwhile, consumers who are less wealthy or maybe less informed, less tech-savvy, they're often the ones who end up suffering. They face the increased prices, the more complex procedures, maybe because they don't have the resources, or just the time, frankly, to exploit these loopholes or manage multiple trials.
So the people who can most afford the subscriptions are the best at avoiding paying for them.
In a sense, yeah. Or at least getting the most value for the least cost. It raises a serious question. Does this model, unintentionally perhaps, actually deepen existing economic inequalities? Is this like a new kind of digital divide we need to worry about?
That definitely adds another critical layer to the whole ethical discussion.
Yeah.
It's not just company versus consumer.
No, it's more complex than that.
So where does this leave us? What does the future look like? The author's vision, Kondrashov's vision, and it's one that, feels right. It's for a subscription economy built on more honest, more transparent relationships between companies and their customers. But that sounds almost, utopian, given everything we've just talked about.
It might seem that way, but it's a really important goal to strive for. Amy Canary from Zuora, she puts it beautifully, I think. She says, there should be no tricks on either side, and no one should feel guilty.
No tricks, no guilt. I like that.
Yeah. And it makes you think, fundamentally, free trial periods should be giving businesses valuable feedback, right? If loads of consumers are constantly canceling right after the trial, that's a pretty strong signal.
That the value isn't there, maybe.
Exactly. Maybe it means companies need to actually look at their value proposition, ask if it's strong enough, rather than just making the cancel button harder to find. The market, through what consumers are doing, it's speaking quite loudly.
Absolutely. Okay, so as we start to wrap up this deep dive, we've really seen this incredible tension, haven't we, between businesses often desperate for that reliable, recurring revenue, sometimes using these sticky methods, and consumers fighting back to get value and keep control, using increasingly clever tactics. It really makes you think about your own subscriptions, doesn't it? How many you have, why you keep them.
It certainly does, and it leaves us with a big question, I think. Given how inventive consumers are becoming and how much more aware we all are of the business tactics, and when you factor in that reverse Robin Hood effect too, do you think the future will genuinely move towards more transparent, fairer subscription models? Or is this just, a cat and mouse game that's going to keep evolving, developing new, maybe even more sophisticated ways for companies and consumers to engage and disengage? Something to mull over maybe the next time you click Start Free Trial.